starts out with a phone call from someone pretending to be from your bank. And here's where it gets really scary. The woman in the video actually showed up at 3 victims' homes to collect their debit cards.
If you've ever trusted a bank alert on your phone, this scam could target you next. Across the country, criminals are running a dangerous scheme known as the cash bag scam, convincing victims to withdraw thousands of dollars and hand it over, believing they're protecting their money. It starts with what looks like a legitimate bank alert and ends with victims unknowingly giving thousands of dollars to criminals. By the time victims realize what's happening, the money is gone for good. In this video, we'll break down exactly how the cash bag scam works, how criminals impersonate banks like Wells Fargo, and the warning signs that could save your bank account. Don't go anywhere. The cash bag scam. Imagine answering a text that looks exactly like one from your bank, only for a calm voice on the line to rattle off your last mortgage payment, a recent grocery run, and even your current account balance, details no stranger should ever know. In that moment, doubt vanishes. You're not talking to a criminal, you're talking to your bank, or so you think. This is the chilling opening act of the cash bag scam, where fraudsters weaponize publicly scraped and dark web-sourced personal data to impersonate major banks like Wells Fargo with terrifying precision. They don't guess, they know, and that knowledge turns ordinary customers into willing participants in their own financial ruin. The process starts with a seemingly innocent text or call. In the Tampa case of Moses Harmon, a 25-year veteran of the landscaping business, it began with a Wells Fargo alert asking if he had authorized a $2,800 charge at a Best Buy in San Francisco, hundreds of miles from his home. When he replied no, the phone rang almost immediately. The caller, displaying a spoofed Wells Fargo number, didn't ask for passwords or codes. Instead, they demonstrated intimate knowledge of Harmon's recent legitimate transactions, naming 3 or 4 exact ones, including his mortgage payment. Cybersecurity experts say criminals often obtain these details through data breaches and the dark web. With basic personal information like a social security number or date of birth, scammers then dial into automated phone banking systems that many banks still use to retrieve balance inquiries and transaction history. With just a few pieces of PII, they pull real-time or recent activity without triggering alerts. The victim hears accurate details and the psychological wall crumbles. Once trust is established, the scammer escalates with urgency. They claim an internal Wells Fargo employee has gone rogue and is preparing unauthorized wire transfers out of the victim's account. The only way to stop the bleeding, they insist, is immediate action. Close the current account and open a new, secure one the next morning. But here's the twist. They don't want you to transfer funds electronically. They need you to withdraw everything in physical cash. This strategy works because the human brain automatically trusts familiarity. When someone knows your private financial details, your instinct is to assume they are legitimate. That moment of confidence is exactly what scammers rely on. The scammer creates a crisis narrative. Your life savings are seconds from disappearing, while positioning themselves as the heroic insider fighting to protect you. The sense of urgency bypasses rational thought. Victims report feeling 100% certain they're speaking with their bank because the details match perfectly and the caller sounds professional, empathetic, and authoritative. In Harmon's experience, the caller stayed on the line as he drove to the South Tampa Wells Fargo branch the next day. They even instructed him to keep the phone on speaker inside the bank so they could listen to the conversation with the teller. That single request was the red flag that finally broke the spell. But many others don't catch it in time, and the scale of the problem is staggering. According to the FBI's 2024 Internet Crime Report, Americans lost $16.6 billion to scams in 2024 alone, a 33% increase from the previous year. Scammers thrive because traditional fraud detection systems often miss these attacks. They rarely trigger standard debit card alerts, since no card-present transaction occurs initially. The spoofed calls and texts appear legitimate. The requested action, cash withdrawal, looks like a normal customer request until it's too late. Once victims believe their money is actively being stolen by an insider, they become desperate to help the bank stop it. Scammers exploit this by demanding secrecy. Don't tell the teller the real reason, or the rogue employee might find out, further isolating the victim from reality checks. Now that you understand how they win your trust in minutes, this next step is the exact playbook they follow once you're hooked. The step-by-step manipulation that turns a simple withdrawal into a permanent handover of your life savings. The cash bag drop. You're standing at the teller window, heart pounding, phone on speaker, as the Wells Fargo security officer listens in. The withdrawal slip is filled out for $15,000. You lie exactly as instructed. It's for a home renovation. The teller counts out crisp bills, slides them across in a plain envelope or small bag. Now the voice on the line says, "Walk straight to the parking lot, keep the phone on. Hand the bag to the courier waiting by the blue SUV, or leave it on the hood if no one's there. One wrong move and your life savings disappear forever." This is the cash bag drop. The moment the scam goes from digital illusion to irreversible physical theft. Once trust is locked in from the earlier call, scammers shift to this tightly scripted endgame. They never ask for wire transfers or Zelle, because those can be reversed. Instead, they demand cash because cash leaves zero digital trail. The victim becomes the unwitting courier of their own money, delivering it directly into the hands of organized crime rings operating call centers overseas or locally. Bank managers across the country have seen this exact playbook dozens of times. In the Tampa Wells Fargo branch, where Moses Harmon nearly fell victim, the manager immediately recognized the script and revealed that just days earlier, another customer had followed identical instructions and handed over $10,000 in cash, money that was never recovered. The scammer had stayed on the line the entire time, decoding every word the victim said to the teller and directing the exact parking lot exchange. The instructions are brutally specific and repeated for precision. Scammers tell victims, do not mention fraud or security to the teller. They might freeze the account, say it's for renovations, a car purchase, or medical bills, whatever sounds normal for a large cash withdrawal. They insist the phone stays live so they can hear the teller's questions and feed real-time answers. Some even demand video or photos of the cash being counted. Once the envelope or bag is in hand, the final command is simple. Exit the bank, walk to the parking lot, and place the bag on the ground near the third light pole. Or, a man in a red shirt will approach you. Hand it over quietly. Victims are told the rogue employee inside the bank might be watching, so they must act normal and stay on the line for protection. This keeps them from seeking real help from branch staff. The sense of crisis peaks. If you don't get this cash out right now, the transfers will go through and your account will be emptied by tonight. According to the Federal Trade Commission's March 2025 data release on 2024 fraud, imposter scams, exactly the category that includes bank impersonation leading to cash handovers, generated $2.95 billion in reported losses, making it the second highest scam category after investment fraud. Tellers are trained to flag large cash withdrawals and ask probing questions. Yet scammers preempt this by scripting perfect cover stories that sound legitimate. The result? The bank processes the transaction legally because the customer is present, coherent, and providing a plausible reason. Once the cash leaves the building, the scam is complete. Organized groups often have a local runner waiting in the lot who collects multiple bags per day from different branches before driving the haul to a safe house for counting and laundering. You've now seen the full physical execution that turns a phone call into permanent loss. Next, discover the hidden reason this scam sails past every modern security system your bank brags about. The green light from inside, how the cash bag scam exploits your bank's own rules against you. Imagine walking into your bank, handing over your ID, filling out a withdrawal slip, and calmly requesting thousands of dollars from your own account. The teller checks your identification, confirms the balance, and approves the transaction. The system gives the withdrawal a green light. There are no alarms, no fraud alerts, and no security blocks. Everything works exactly as it should. What you don't realize at that moment is that the very security rules designed to protect you are the same rules the cash bag scam quietly exploits. This is the dangerous loophole scammers rely on. Once the victim agrees to visit the bank branch, the entire fraud detection structure essentially steps aside. The transaction that follows isn't an online transfer, a debit card purchase, or a suspicious wire request. It's a simple in-person cash withdrawal. The account holder presents identification, fills out the withdrawal slip, and confirms the amount. From the bank's perspective, the transaction is completely legitimate. That detail changes everything. Fraud monitoring systems are built to detect unauthorized access, things like stolen credentials, unusual digital transfers, or purchases made in unfamiliar locations. But in the cashbag scam, the account owner is physically standing at the counter authorizing the withdrawal. The bank's systems see no compromise, no hacking attempt, and no suspicious digital activity. Banking regulations reinforce this reality. Financial institutions cannot refuse a lawful withdrawal simply because the amount seems unusual. If an adult customer presents valid identification and requests their own money, the bank is generally obligated to process that request unless there is clear evidence of fraud or coercion. Scammers understand this rule extremely well. Before victims even arrive at the branch, the caller carefully scripts exactly what they should say. The explanations are designed to sound routine and believable. A teller who hears that someone needs cash to pay a contractor, buy equipment from a private seller, or handle renovation expenses has no reason to suspect anything unusual. Inside the bank's systems, the transaction appears normal. According to the FBI's 2024 Internet Crime Complaint Center report, gold courier scams, where victims withdraw money and hand it to criminals posing as investigators or couriers, generated 525 complaints and $219 million in reported losses in 2024. Investigators say the method closely mirrors the mechanics of the cashbag scam. And there's another critical detail. The phone call guiding the victim never passes through the bank's communication systems. Criminals use caller ID spoofing, which allows them to mimic official bank phone numbers. To the victim, the call appears to come directly from the institution, but to the bank, the conversation never existed. The only thing the bank records is the customer's own authorized withdrawal. Even if security footage is reviewed later, everything looks ordinary. The customer walked in, requested their money, and left with it. No alarms triggered, no fraud flags appeared. Every step followed established banking procedures. The scammers also manipulate the victim's mindset before the bank visit ever happens. They instruct them to remain calm, avoid mentioning investigations, and follow the script exactly. This prevents bank employees from noticing hesitation or confusion that might raise concern. In effect, the victim unknowingly becomes the final step in the fraud operation, and that's why this scam has become so effective. But every cashbag scam leaves behind warning signs, specific phrases, instructions, and behaviors that scammers repeat again and again. And once you recognize those red flags, the entire scheme becomes much easier to spot before a single dollar leaves your account. The red flags, scammers. Hope you never notice. Every successful cashbag scam follows a script. The phrases that should stop you cold: keep this call confidential from branch staff, we need you to withdraw the funds in cash so we can track the rogue employee, and stay on the line so I can guide you safely through the teller process. These aren't random words. They are the scammer's script, repeated in hundreds of cashbag attempts, designed to isolate you and push you toward that irreversible parking lot handover. The words may change slightly, but the warning signs almost always appear in the same order. The problem is that most victims only recognize those red flags after the money's gone. Common scripted lines include, "A Wells Fargo employee has compromised your account and is preparing outgoing wires. Only cash withdrawal will stop it." Do not tell the teller this is related to fraud or security. They might alert the wrong person. We need you to keep your phone on speaker inside the bank so I can hear everything and coach you. Bring the cash out in a plain envelope or bag and place it in the parking lot near the third lamppost. The transfer is scheduled to complete in the next 30 minutes if we don't act now. These phrases serve one purpose: to prevent you from seeking real help inside the branch and to maintain control over the entire process. Legitimate banks never ask customers to keep calls active during in-branch transactions or to withhold information from tellers. They never demand cash withdrawals to stop internal fraud. The urgency language, right now, immediately, before it's too late, is deliberate. It triggers panic and bypasses your logical checks. Scammers also use authority cues like "This is the fraud investigation team" or "I'm with Wells Fargo Security," combined with your real transaction details to create false credibility. The Federal Trade Commission's 2024 Consumer Sentinel Network Data Book, released in early 2025, reported that imposter scams involving bank and government impersonation led to $2.95 billion in losses, with cash payment methods, the hallmark of these scripted handovers, showing the highest median loss of $14,740 per victim. Security professionals consistently warn that legitimate banks never ask customers to withdraw cash as part of fraud protection. Banks have internal procedures for freezing accounts, reversing transfers, and investigating suspicious activity without requiring customers to physically remove money from their accounts. By the time these red flags appear together, urgency, secrecy, scripted explanations, and constant phone contact, the scammer has already built a powerful psychological trap around the victim. Recognizing even one of these warning signs can interrupt the entire scam. But spotting the red flags is only part of the defense, because the most effective protection comes from knowing exactly what actions to take the moment you suspect something isn't right. What to do immediately. If you suspect the cash bag scam. The moment you suspect a scam, seconds matter. If something about the call feels even slightly wrong, the first and most important action is simple. Hang up the phone immediately. Scammers rely on staying connected because it keeps victims inside the psychological pressure of the conversation. The moment the call ends, the urgency they created begins to disappear. Cybersecurity experts consistently warn that breaking contact is the fastest way to regain control of the situation. But hanging up is only step one. The next step is to verify the situation using a trusted contact method, not the number that just called you. Turn your debit card over and call the official customer service number printed on the back. Alternatively, log into your bank's official mobile app and use the support option inside the app. Never return a call using the number provided in a suspicious text message. Once you're speaking directly with your bank through an official line, ask the fraud department to check for any suspicious activity on your account. Legitimate bank representatives can instantly confirm whether fraud alerts were actually issued and whether any transfers or suspicious transactions exist. If the bank confirms that the call was fraudulent, there are several additional actions that should be taken immediately. First, ask the bank to place a temporary fraud alert or account monitoring flag on your account. Many banks call this a high-risk account note or enhanced monitoring alert. This instruction tells the bank's internal systems and branch employees to watch for unusual activity connected to the account. Second, change your online banking password immediately using the bank's official website or app. Choose a password that has never been used on another website. Security professionals also recommend enabling two-factor authentication if it isn't already active. These steps reduce the risk that scammers could attempt additional attacks later. Another critical action is to report the incident to federal fraud investigators. Victims or potential victims can submit a report to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at ic3.gov, which tracks fraud patterns and helps law enforcement identify organized scam operations. Reporting the attempt may also help investigators warn other potential victims. Finally, if a scammer instructed you to visit a bank branch or withdraw money, contact the branch directly and explain what happened. Bank managers are increasingly trained to recognize these scams and may be able to place alerts on your account to prevent suspicious withdrawals. Another additional protective measures is placing a free credit freeze with all three major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. A credit freeze prevents new credit accounts from being opened in your name without your approval. It doesn't affect your credit score and can be temporarily lifted whenever you apply for legitimate credit. You can activate a freeze directly through the official websites. The most disturbing part of the cash bag scam isn't the technology behind it. It's the realization that victims are manipulated into becoming the final step of the fraud themselves. Investigators say scams like this continue spreading because many victims never talk about what happened. If you've ever encountered a scam call, a suspicious bank alert, or a fraud attempt like this, consider sharing your experience in the comments. Your story could be the warning that stops someone else from becoming the next victim. And if you want to stay ahead of the latest scams criminals are using to target everyday people, Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more breakdowns, alerts, and real stories about the fraud tactics spreading right now.